Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Who's leading?
Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 1, The Spiritual Masters, Text 53. Aham eva sameva agre nanyad yad sad asat param paschadaham yadetaccha yovashishyet swasmyaham aham eva sameva agre nanyad yad sad asat param paschadaham yadetaccha yovashishyet swasmyaham aham eva sameva agre nanyad yad sad asat param paschadaham yadetaccha yovashishyet swasmyaham Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Synonyms. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Asam, existed. Eva, only. Agre, before the creation. Na, never. Anyat, anything else. Yat, which. Sat, the effect. Asat, the cause. Param, the supreme. Paschat, at the end. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Yat, which. Etat, this creation. Cha, also. Yaha, who. Avashishyeta, remains. Saha, that. Asmi, am. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Translation. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything and after annihilation only I remain eternally. Purport. Aham means I. Therefore the speaker who is saying Aham, I, must have his own personality. The Mayavadi philosophers interpret this word Aham as referring to the impersonal Brahman. The Mayavadis are very proud of their grammatical knowledge, but any person who has actual knowledge of grammar can understand that Aham means I and that I refers to a personality. Therefore, the personality of Godhead, speaking to Brahma, uses Aham while describing his own transcendental form. Aham has a specific meaning. It is not a vague term that can be whimsically interpreted. Aham, when spoken by Krishna, refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else.
Yes. Om Gana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadagamanang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shadrashatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Pravijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vanshako Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aham eva sameva agre nanyat yat sarasat param then paschat aham yade tajcha yo vashisheta sosmyaham. So aham. The Mayavadis want to twist aham to mean the impersonal Brahma, but aham means I. Simple thing. So the meaning is clear, it should be left as it is.
Yes, sir. Before the creation and after its dissolution, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His associates exist. There is no existence of the material elements. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. Vasudeva va idam agra asin na brahma na cha shankaraha. The meaning of this mantra is that before creation there was no existence of Brahma or Shiva, for only Vishnu existed. Vishnu exists in his abode, the Vaikunthas. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and on each of them Vishnu resides with his associates and his paraphernalia. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that although the creation is periodically dissolved, there is another abode which is never dissolved. The word creation refers to the material creation, because in the spiritual world everything exists eternally and there is no creation or dissolution.
Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana. Visasraveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu navinashyati. In the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is coming and going, bhutva bhutva praliyate. But the spiritual world is not destroyed when the material world is destroyed. It always exists. Krishna exists before the creation of the material world. He exists after everything's destroyed. And he exists while everything is going on.
The Lord indicates herein that before the material creation, He existed in fullness with all transcendental opulences, including all strength, all wealth, all beauty, all knowledge, all fame, and all renunciation. If one thinks of a king, he automatically thinks of his secretaries, ministers, military commanders, palaces, and so on. Since a king has such opulences, one can simply try to imagine the opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord says Aham, therefore it is to be understood that He exists with full potency, including all opulences.
Yes, I means I, my kingdom, my associates, my powers, my everything.
The word Yat refers to Brahman, the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. In the Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, text 40, it is said, Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam. The Brahman effulgence expands unlimitedly. Just as the sun is a localized planet, with the sunshine expanding unlimitedly from that source, so the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with His effulgence of energy, Brahman, expanding unlimitedly. From that Brahman energy, the creation appears, just as a cloud appears in sunshine. From the cloud comes rain, from the rain comes vegetation, and from the vegetation come fruits and flowers, which are the basis of subsistence for many other forms of life. Similarly, the effulgent bodily luster of the Supreme Lord is the cause of the creation of infinite universes. The Brahman effulgence is impersonal, but the cause of that energy is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From Him, in His abode, the Vaikunthas, this Brahma Jyoti emanates. He is never impersonal. Since impersonalists cannot understand the source of the Brahman energy, they mistakenly choose to think this impersonal Brahman the ultimate or absolute goal. But as stated in the Upanishads, one has to penetrate the impersonal effulgence to see the face of the Supreme Lord. If one desires to reach the source of the sunshine, he has to travel through the sunshine to reach the sun and then meet the predominating deity there. The Absolute Truth is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, as Srimad Bhagavatam explains.
Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham. In the Ishopanishad, one has to go past the impersonal effulgence to see the face of the personality of Godhead.
Sat means effect, Asat means cause, and Param refers to the ultimate truth, which is transcendental to cause and effect. The cause of the creation is called the Mahat Tattwa, or total material energy, and its effect is the creation itself. But neither cause nor effect existed in the beginning. They emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as did the energy of time. This is stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha. The source of birth of the cosmic manifestation, or Mahat Tattva, is the personality of Godhead. This is confirmed throughout Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, text 8, the Lord says, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the fountainhead of all emanations. The material cosmos, being temporary, is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest, but its energy emanates from the Supreme Absolute Lord. Before the creation, there was neither cause nor effect, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead existed with His full opulence and energy.
So the scientist or any educated person understands everything here is working by cause and effect, but what is the cause of the causes and effects? That they don't know. Everything is working by cause and effect, but what's the cause of that? What's the cause of that? What's the cause of that? Janmadyasya. That's the Vedanta inquiry. What's the source of everything? This is the source of this is the source of that, but when you come to the beginning, what is the original source? Sarva karana karanam. Anadir adir govinda, sarva karana karanam. Then we come to Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Everything comes from me. Mata sarvam pravartate. In this way, Krishna is to be seen as the cause of all causes, transcendental to the causes and effects of this material world. Another point is that because Krishna existed before the creation of the material elements, he can't be a product of the material elements. The Mayavadis have some sort of twisted idea that the body of the personality of Godhead is a product of the total material elements. But the Lord is the cause of those material elements. By his glance, sa aikshata, sa srijata, creation is launched. So then how can he be a product of anything in this creation? They're certainly mistaken. Hare Krishna. Bole? Bole? Hare Krishna. Jaiya.
The words Paschat Aham indicate that the Lord exists after the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. When the material world is dissolved, the Lord still exists personally in the Vaikunthas. During the creation, the Lord also exists as He is in the Vaikunthas, and He also exists as the super soul within the material universes. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, text 37. Goloka eva nivasati. Although He is perfectly and eternally present in Goloka Vrindavan in Vaikuntha, He is nevertheless all-pervading, akhilatma bhutaha. The all-pervading feature of the Lord is called the super soul. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, Aham kritsnasya jagataha prabhavaha. The cosmic manifestation is a display of the energy of the Supreme Lord. The material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego display the inferior energy of the Lord, and the living entities are His superior energy. Since the energy of the Lord is not different from Him, in fact everything that exists is Krishna in His impersonal feature. Sunshine, sunlight and heat are not different from the sun, and yet simultaneously they are distinct energies of the sun. Similarly, the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are energies of the Lord, and they are considered to be simultaneously one with and different from Him. The Lord therefore says, I am everything, because everything is His energy and is therefore non-different from Him.
Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is everything. So everything is included within Krishna. There's nothing other than Krishna and Krishna's energies wherever we look. Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
Yovashishyeta so asmi aham indicates that the Lord is the balance that exists after the dissolution of the creation. The spiritual manifestation never vanishes. It belongs to the internal energy of the Supreme Lord and exists eternally. When the eternal manifestation is withdrawn, the spiritual activities in Goloka and the rest of the Vaikunthas continue, unrestricted by material time, which has no existence in the spiritual world. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 6, it is said, Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. The abode from which no one returns to this material world is the supreme abode of the Lord.
Any questions?
Maharaj, as we read in this purport, that Brahman is the cause of creation. Before creation, material elements do not exist.
Can you hear? I can't hear.
So, as we read in the purport, few
Yes.
paragraphs before, that Brahman is cause of everything.
Yes.
Before creation, material elements do not exist, and the example was given: sun rays creating clouds. So, when we take this example, we see that sun rays cause water to evaporate. That means water exists separately from sun rays, and then clouds come in creation. So when we say Brahman is source of everything, so something other than Brahman has to be present so that creation exists.
No. If you don't like the example of the clouds, because the clouds are a product of water, so take darkness. Darkness is a creation of the sun. Without the sun, there's no existence of darkness. Because darkness depends on the sun. There's no separate creation of darkness. But when the sun is there, the sun creates light and the sun creates darkness. So Krishna creates everything. Is that all right? There's no separate source that Krishna has to draw on to create anything. Therefore we hear in the second canto that the universal form, everything is there in the body of the Lord, even sacrificial ingredients had to be taken from the body of the Lord. So there's nothing else existing. So Vasudeva Sarvamiti, not 90% or 95%. 100%. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we heard from Krishna, Balram is the expansion. From Krishna, Ladini Shakti is there, which is Mother Radha. We also heard that same Ladini Shakti, Mother Radha and Krishna.
We also heard what?
We also heard that same Ladini Shakti, Mother Radha and Krishna comes as a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So initially, like from Krishna, Balram ji is expansion, Ladini Shakti is expansion. So my question is that, then what is the meaning of eternal? Like it seems that...
What is the meaning of?
So
yeah, that's stated in that verse when Prabhupada translates it. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Rasmad. They've eternally separated themselves. They're eternally one and they eternally separate themselves. You can't apply your idea of time to the spiritual world. Animeshar Dhatyo Vavradati Nahi Atrapi Samay. Not a half a moment elapses in the spiritual world. There's no time. So we say, well, what happened first? And how could this happen and then that happen? Because in our world, everything has to happen according to some pattern within the framework of time. But the spiritual world doesn't exist beyond that framework. So everything is able to happen, but there's no necessity of time in order to make it happen.
Maharaj, then what is the meaning of eternal then?
You have to go to the eternal world and then you'll know. We have no experience of eternal. Our experience here is all temporary. Therefore, sometimes the demigods are considered eternal, just because they lived for such a long time. But eternal is something different.
What is the need of this creation?
No need. No need at all. But the living entities insist, we want independence. We want something for ourselves. All right. There's no need. But because some living entities are insistent, all right, take your nonsense.
So this is Tatastha Lakshana of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. this creation is Tatastha Lakshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Tatastha Lakshan? No.
Yeah.
The living entities are Tatastha Lakshan. The living entities are marginal potency. Material world is the avidya shakti of the Lord, the manifestation of ignorance or matter. Am I wrong? Or you have a different reference? Or
No, he is omnipotent, he is self-satisfied.
hard to hear.
He is omnipotent, he is self-satisfied, he doesn't need anybody. So that is the Sarup Lakshana of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But this creation he is doing for somebody else.
It's for somebody else, yes.
So that's become the Rasa Lakshana. That's what I would
From
say.
that point of view, okay. Yeah, primary and secondary. Mukhya and Gona. For Krishna, he doesn't need a material creation. The king doesn't need a prison house. He has no interest in going there. But some citizens, outlaws, for them. Yes.
In this purport, we read two contradictory things. One
Only
was,
two.
yeah. So in the initial part, Prabhupada was mentioning that Aham means I, the creator. So it is very clear that the creation cannot be done by an impersonal energy. But in the later part, we read that this all creation has come about from Brahman.
The Brahman comes from Krishna.
So
That Brahman nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Just like you see, you go now, I guess everything today is digital, but in previous times you'd go to a movie theater and you look on the screen and you see whatever's going on. Amitabh Bachchan is doing something or other. So many people are there doing this and that. But if you turn around in your seat, you see that it's all coming from one point of light. Right? You look back and you see there's one, the scene is like this, and you follow it back and it all comes to one point of light. So that's the source of the film. The source of what you see is that point of light. But from that one point of light, you can't get all that variety. You can't get Amitabh Bachchan from one point of light. You can't get all those actors from one point of light. You have to go further. You have to go behind that one point of light, and you find there's a film strip. Or maybe now it's some digital, a CD or something, a digital file. But there's something on the other side of the light. Otherwise, that light can't provide all that variety. So Brahma is the source of everything, but Krishna is the basis of the Brahma.
So, yes, Maharaj, this example is very apt. But creation is little more complex, because if you throw sunlight on a pile of mud, it can't bring about a pot.
Could you speak more slowly?
If there is sunlight, if you subject sunlight to a pile of sand.
You started more slowly and then you went back to the original speed.
Sorry.
Could you speak more slowly?
So there is a pile of clay.
Yes.
And you subject that clay to sunlight for unlimited time. But that will not bring about a pot.
No.
So that light cannot create. It has to involve the presence of a potter, a person. So why at all this conception is said in the scripture?
Why what?
Why at all in the scriptures it is said that Brahman is the source of entire creation?
Brahma means Krishna. He's the potter. Brahma doesn't have to mean impersonal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, wherever you see Brahma, read Krishna. Brahma means the greatest. Krishna is the greatest.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your wonderful class. However, I have a question regarding the concluding words of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada, he completed this great literature here in the Hare Krishna.
Completely does what?
He completed this Chaitanya Charitamrita purports. Prabhupada, he completed his purports to Chaitanya Charitamrita here in the Hare Krishna land. And in the concluding words, he is giving all credit to his Guru Maharaj, and at the same time he is acknowledging the contributions given by his disciples like Pradyumna Prabhu and Nitai Prabhu, and your name is also there. So my question to you is, when you read first time your name in that concluding words, what you are feeling, and now also it is still there, it will remain. So
What?
your name is there in the concluding
know
words. I read as it is.
So what do you want to know?
So what you were feeling that time when Prabhupada acknowledged?
You want to know what I was feeling when I first read this 40 years ago.
Or now also?
Or now. Well, I'm thinking the credit is Prabhupada's. We're just arms and legs. That's all. By Prabhupada's mercy, we got to assist. We got to contribute something. I'm complaining that everyone else is hard to hear and no one can hear me. Okay. Anyway, by Prabhupada's mercy, we were able to assist him. That's all. He's the author. We just do some scribbling, move some words around. But it's Prabhupada's book, Prabhupada's contribution. And by his mercy, he engaged us. That's all. If he hadn't engaged me, he would have engaged someone else. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji. What is the purpose of this material creation and conditioned soul? Lord created this material world and conditioned soul. What is the purpose behind this material creation?
We want to enjoy something. So Krishna says, all right, here's your nonsense, go enjoy. What you're imagining, go ahead. And the other purpose is to reform the misdirected living entities or the wayward living entities, give them the opportunity to come back. Do your nonsense, all right, that's one purpose. And the other purpose is to give the opportunity to go back to Godhead. Those two purposes. Is that all right?
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, thank you. Maharaj, you were mentioning this Nanyad Yat Sad Asat Param. And one of the application from this you gave is that Krishna is not the product of material elements. He is Param, beyond these. So, thank you very much. So, they may say that this is a shloka from Bhagavatam, which we don't accept. Show us this in Vedanta.
Janmadhyasya, the absolute truth must be the source of everything. That means he must be the source of material nature, he must be the source of time, he must be the source of everything. If you make the modes of nature supreme, then you're in a very strange position. The Prabhupada said, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, we have to inquire about the greatest. So is the greatest cognizant, or is the greatest lacking consciousness, like a stone or a tree, or a stone or a table. So the modes of nature have no separate consciousness. But if you make them the supreme, no one does that. In Vedanta, you don't find that. In Shruti, you don't find that. Everywhere we find that Brahman is the source of everything. Janmadyasya. So that means the source of modes of nature, source of this, that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, I'm the source of everything. So in Bhagavad Gita, it's there. In Shastra, Yato Va Imani Bhutani Jayante. And Prabhupada quoted that. Ishana, like that, no Brahma, no Shiva. If you look in that Bhagavad Gita purport, maybe it's Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. It's an extensive, it's just the whole purport's quote after quote after quote. If you're looking for some quotes, you can find it there.
There's one more question. Maharaj, recently I was reading, so I found this.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, well, okay. Find that out, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. So many verses Prabhupada quotes, right? Pick me a few. Oh, look at this. You've got it in English too. Thank you. I'm quicker in English. Eko vai narayana asit na brahmana ishano na pa nagni samo neme java prativi nanakshatrani nasuryaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayan. No Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky. Maha Upanishad. So there's a Shruti quote for you. Yo Brahmanam Vidikati Purvam Yo Vai Vedam Pragapayati Sma Krishna. It's in the beginning Krishna who instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. He's the source of all the demigods. Narayana Brahma Jayate, Narayana Prajapati Prajayate, and so on. Everything is born of Krishna, Narayana. Something else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Generally, from my first days of Krishna consciousness onwards, like I was hearing more class, less question answers at the end. But when it comes to your presentation, I hear very less presentation, more question answers comes in the lecture. Is there any reason why you choose this pattern of presentation?
I don't have much to say. I don't have much to say sometimes, so then I call for questions, and then we find out what people want to talk about.
Even in Prabhupada times, Prabhupada presented lectures.
Prabhupada sometimes didn't call for questions at all, and sometimes he gave a lot of time for questions.
As even when we go out and preach, people like me,
we speak more because we see audience are not much sufficient to ask any questions.
That may sometimes be. Some audiences, if you ask for questions, there won't be a single question.
Yes.
So for them, kirtan is good.
So you expect that devotees who are sitting in Bhagavatam class, they are ready to ask questions?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You find out.
Thank you, Maharaj. In fact, we would like to hear from you more of your realizations, connections with Srila Prabhupada.
I'd like to have more realizations.
Thank you for your answers, Maharaj.
Okay. Jaiya.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Like in this purport, Prabhupada mentioned about Mayavadis. Generally, Prabhupada very oftenly quote about Mayavadis, but hardly we find any Mayavadis these days. Like, what is the relevance when we read about Mayavadis? What is it? How is it relevant to our?
Why is Prabhupada going on and on about the Mayavadis? There's a well-known story that at 26 Second Avenue also, at the first temple, Prabhupada did the same thing. He would go on about the Mayavadis and the Mayavadis and the Mayavadis and the foolish Mayavadis and the rascal Mayavadis. And the devotees were trying to figure it out. You know, who are these Mayavadis? You know, Prabhupada must be talking about some group in India, you know, the Mayavadis, something. And then gradually they realized that they were the Mayavadis. We think but everywhere people are thinking, no, you worship Brahma, you worship Shiva, you worship Krishna, you worship Surya, you worship Devi. It's all the same. The Mayavad. It all leads to the same place. We just have our own Ishta Devata. So you worship whichever Devata you like, but it takes you to the same destination. That means impersonal destination. So this is all Mayavad. The prevailing view is Mayavad. There's just one, if they think about some spiritual truth, there's just one hazy kind of truth. So they don't think that the personality of Godhead, with his form, qualities, even the philosophers, they think, oh no, if he has a form, he must be limited. If he has qualities, he must be limited. My life.
Maharaj, I was reading 8th canto, that Samudra Manthan Lila. So there when the poison comes, everyone, including Lord Vishnu, all the demigods and the asuras, and including Lord Vishnu, they approach Lord Shiva and they offer prayers. And it will go exactly like this. Like you are the super soul and you are the cause of creation, maintenance and destruction. So Prabhupada writes in one of the shlokas, the purport is only this much. These prayers are actually meant for Lord Vishnu. But if taken these shlokas out of context, it may appear as a proof that, okay, Lord Shiva is supreme.
Therefore, it shouldn't be taken out of context.
So we often quote Sattvic
Even
Puranas.
Krishna in the 10th canto, Krishna's flattering Balaram, my dear brother, you're the supreme personality of Godhead, all of these trees are bowing down to touch your lotus feet. All these bees are singing your glories. So actually it's meant for Krishna, but Krishna is deflecting it to Balaram. So here, Lord Shiva's, it's like Prabhupada, he gave some credit to me that I did something, but actually it was all Prabhupada. So Krishna's also, he gives sometimes credit to Lord Shiva.
So we often quote the Sattvic Puranas as a proof that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and but then someone may say, okay, if you go to these Puranas, there will be some prayers like this also. So how do you conclusively say that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
We take two sources, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. If you don't accept Bhagavad Gita, then I don't know if we want to talk to you. But if you accept Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu, I'm the source of everything. Mamekam sharanam, surrender to me exclusively. So you accept or you don't accept. If you don't accept Bhagavad Gita, that's another discussion. But if you accept Bhagavad Gita, you're claiming to be Hindu. Do you accept Bhagavad Gita? You accept Bhagavad Gita, case closed. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just wanted to ask, as we move closer to end of Kali Yuga, what changes will witness in this material world?
What will we see?
What changes will will witness in this material world?
What will we see as we get closer to the end of Kali Yuga?
Yeah, as in we will not see, but yeah, future generation.
Yeah, we won't be here, but we hope. These things are described in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of them are already happening. Some of them are yet to happen. But it's described that the kings will become just like Rakshasas. Bhakshis shantite praja. They'll devour the citizens. They'll use other people's wives. They'll steal everyone's money. Things will be they'll be so oppressive that people will flee to the forest rather than live under the jurisdiction of the rogue state. That's described. And that's already happening. We see how degraded the governments of the world, taxing and taxing and taxing and taxing, simply stealing people's money. And then they say, yes, we're using your money to go to Mars. Very important work on Mars, so we need your money. But one suspects that the money is being used more locally. Toward the end of the age, there'll be no God consciousness, there'll be no chanting. There'll be no religious activities. People will just be like animals. Marriage will be nothing. Just people will say, all right, let's get together. That's marriage in Kali Yuga. People will think themselves very beautiful just for keeping long hair. If someone's arrogant, he'll be considered a great person. Very intelligent. People will be on the level of cats and dogs and monkeys. If someone lives they'll have, that's already described. Prayan alpayusha shabya kalavasmin yugajana. Manda sumanda mateo mandapagya upadita. The Alpayusha, people's lifetimes will be very short. We hear that the sages were living, not sages, everyone was living for 100,000 years in such a yuga. Now if someone lives to 100 years, it's a big thing. So decreasing. Eventually if someone's 10 years old, he'll be a grand old man. Yes, stature is also decreasing. When Muchukunda awoke from his sleep, he saw everything was small. The trees were small, the people were small, everything small. He could understand this is Kali Yuga running. Prayanalpa Yusha Shabya Kalavasminya and Manda, people will be so slow, they'll have no brain. And Manda Mateo, misled by so many false gods, false leaders, Mandapagya, and unfortunate, and always upajuta, always in anxiety, always disturbed. So gradually we see these signs of Kali Yuga already. Still we have how many? 340,000 roughly years left to go. We're only 5,000 years into it. And already so much is going on. Cheating big time. Governments are like plunderers already. Therefore, at the end of in the beginning of Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, chants Hare Krishna. At the end, Kalki. There's nothing to tell you. You just will cut off your head, and you'll become fortunate. Is that okay? Therefore, better to chant Hare Krishna now than to wait around for Kalki to come. Yes.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Among Shiva, Rudra and Sadashiva, among Shiva, Rudra and Sadashiva, Sadashiva is Vishnu Tattwa?
Sadashiva is what?
Vishnu Tattwa?
Sometimes it says Sadashiva is. Yes, Sadashiva is sometimes identified in Narayana.
So when it is mentioned that before Brahma and Shiva, only Vishnu is...
But if he's Narayan, then that's before Brahma, Shiva, everyone else. The name is there, Sadashiva, but he's Narayan.
Thank you very much.
Before Shankara, before Rudra, that's what's specifically said.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we understand that Krishna have the transcendental body.
Krishna what?
Krishna have transcendental body.
Yes.
And also like we are part and parcel of Krishna's soul, and soul cannot be killed or maybe burned by fire, and so many other details are there. And we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and Lord Nityananda Prabhu is Lord Balram himself, and they all have the transcendental body. So Maharaj, when we hear the pastime of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, specifically Jagai and Madhai pastimes, so at that pastime, we heard that Madhai throw a pot on the Lord Nityananda Prabhu's head and the blood starts coming. So how can we understand like the blood?
This is play. Just like Amitabh Bachchan, he also sometimes bleeds on the screen. So do you think that actually he's bleeding? He's transcendental. But for the sake of the drama, it appears that he bleeds. Bhishma Dev was piercing Krishna's body with arrows, and it appeared that Krishna was bleeding and all of that. And this is all show.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, this question was, asked by my professor. Actually, this question was asked by my professor, and when he debated with me, I said, Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Did you get that?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Actually, this question was asked
by your professor.
Actually, when he was debating with me, I said, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So he said, that means Krishna is a supreme controller. So if Krishna is a supreme controller, then why don't Krishna stop the crimes which are happening in the society?
Why doesn't Krishna do what? Because that's not Krishna's business. He's not your order supplier. If he's the supreme controller, why doesn't he do this that I want, do that I want? That's not Krishna's business. He's not chief. He may be supreme controller, but he's not chief of police. That he's there to stop the crime. He's the supreme controller, so he's in control of the law of karma. By the law of karma, you're meant to lose your money. So by the law of karma, someone has to steal it from you. Why should Krishna interfere? You're seeing your little thing, your little picture. Why doesn't it fit my picture of what's supposed to be there? Why can't I enjoy? Why isn't everything set up? There's no crime, there's no distress, there's no too much heat or cold, there's simply enjoyment. Krishna's not, it's like a prisoner. He's complaining, why don't we have better food? Why don't we have better recreation? Why don't we have some girls? Why don't we have, what kind of prison system is this? We've heard that the government is supposed to be benevolent. Where are the girls? So you're a prisoner and you're demanding that the state do things your way. No. You suffer until you agree. Yes, I'll cooperate with the state. Then, is that all right? The supreme controller is not your order supplier. Swarat, he's independent. He does what he likes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my question is that can you please explain about the Shiva Tattwa? Because in Shiva Puran, the Shiva is given as a supreme position.
Did you hear that? In Shiva Puran, there are three, the Puranas in goodness, in passion, and ignorance. So for the benefit of those in ignorance, the Puranas in ignorance, all right, Shiva's supreme. So you worship Shiva, at least worship somebody. But for those who are in goodness, Vishnu is supreme.
Hare Krishna. So my question is that he is the expansion of Krishna and Shiva is the expansion of Krishna.
What of Krishna?
Lord Shiva is the expansion of Krishna. So
is the what of Krishna?
Yes, and so he is like God only. But Srimad Bhagavatam explains this. He is the Vaishnava. Is the
expansion doesn't mean that he's God. You're also expansion of Krishna. But that doesn't mean that you're God. Everything's an expansion of Krishna. Krishna has different kinds of expansions. One expansion is called Swamsa. That means Vishnu. He himself, with full power, appears like Balaram. He's Swamsa. Narayan, he's Swamsa. Nrsingadev, Swamsa. Then Vibhanamsha, the tiny expansions. That's us. And then Lord Shiva, he's in between. He's neither Vishnu nor the living entities. Okay. Shall we stop here? All right. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shiva.